is that about emotions within the inner self, or can you extend that to being emotionally intelligent with other people?
Yeah,
you know, the support for
it encompasses emotional intelligence as well.
Support for supporting other, you know,
Yeah.
and a better understanding of other people
Yeah.
that you're working with.
Do you know what's really interesting? There's a researcher here called Lorraine Poole, and they ran an emotional intelligence training program for students. What they found was that increased, it's 4 branches. You've got manage, understand, use, and perceive. So the 4 rounds look at our emotional repertoire. So we're trying to explain how we're feeling to other people. If we haven't got that language, or then people don't understand that language, we're not really going to understand. And so they found that the training itself helped people to understand their own emotions, to be able to use tools to be able to manage their emotions, but it didn't really increase perceptual ability. But when you look at one of the meditations, the loving kindness meditation, what that does is it enhances an area in the brain called the insula, which is a seat for interoceptive awareness. So it's like the seat for self-empathy, and that supports all the other empathetic networks in the brain, so your mirror neurons and things like that. So when you do meditation, you do find that it does increase perceptual ability. And so if you have this explicit training and you're teaching people more emotional language, not just getting up in the morning and feeling blue, but labelling themselves as depressed because they're not looking at the levels of blue or the levels of stress. The language that we choose to label ourselves can set ourselves off as well in the morning. So I find with the loving kindness meditation, it's all about compassion and empathy and all that kind of thing. So that in itself increases our ability to perceive emotion in others. What you were talking about before was all about parents. I think children from a really early age, they're really hardwired for empathy. We really are. But it drops off at 4 when we go to school and we become institutionalised. And we don't celebrate empathy in the community or equanimity. There's a lot in the media about status and things like that. So if we were championing this kind of like empathetic attitude, how can we train people to understand what other people are feeling? Why is that important? Why should we celebrate that? Then before we'd say the negative thing, we'd think, how is that going to make that other person feel? And so it'd increase empathy in parents so they could choose better language with the children. But it doesn't, it's in schools, it's just not there. Personal social and health education only became statutory in 2011, and they only really support like parenting and social relationships. There's no social and emotional learning. And CEL, which is social emotional learning, is only voluntary. So you only get schools doing it where you've got really nice head teachers, are really aware of these things, really empathetic, compassionate teachers. And research done on CEL intervention shows that it's not so much about the programme itself, it's about how emotionally intelligent the teachers are. That mediates the success of the programme. So it should be about just teaching kids, which first, teachers, it should be trained first, and then they can go in. But we're getting there, we're really getting there. In America, they're way ahead of us. There's a really beautiful research centre in Berkeley called the Greater Good Science Centre, and they're like spiritual hippies, scientific hippies, a bit like me. They're doing loads of really amazing stuff. It's all heart-centred, all person-centred. And over in the West, we're very system-orientated. So our school curriculum is all about math, science and English, and it neglects what does it mean to be human, who am I? And the teachers are all about raw education. There's so much pressure on them to get these kids up to these grades. I've lost my train of thought there. So yeah, basically, we need more love in schools.
Hey.
To teach teachers how to love the children, get away from the system, supporting the system, and start supporting the people. Really empower kids and champion their individuality from an early age, not try and make them like the same uniforms and all that kind of stuff. They've all got to be the same. We should really celebrate individuality. And if you have maverick teachers who were really emotionally aware and things like that, they'd be able to handle that in a classroom, wouldn't they? Rather than saying, you've all got to shut up, you've all got to listen to me so that you can produce this later on. It should be about teaching philosophy. What do you think? How do you want the lesson to go next week? Why don't you design the lesson plan? And maverick teachers, if they were really supported in their training and by the institutions, could be able to do that, wouldn't they? Yeah. More